The capitalism conferences are Super Bowl as a company. It's where we invite the people that I know will inspire our community to go bigger, but not just inspire them, give them the actual tools to help them move forward.
There is something magical that happens in 2 days when you get a group of entrepreneurs who are focused on growth personally and professionally in one room and you watch them serve each other.
Every time I've come here, it has paid off massively.
That shift in mindset of being around these people that are playing this game elevated my expectations for myself to such a high level. Now I have zero roof of what I believe I'm capable of, you know?
You learn, you do it, you have your exit, and then you invest in the next group, or you do it again.
There are people worth well over $100 million, and there are people who are just starting out, and you don't know who's who until the second day.
Welcome to Capcom!
Energy goes where energy flows.
So I hope you do this one thing.
If I was to tell you the secret to everything, I would just say,
Ryan asked for a formula, I created the formula, boom, it's not trademarked yet, so don't steal it.
So before I even come up with a business idea, I do that.
give it up one more time for this group of millionaires!
The Capitalism Conference happened at the end of April 2023. This was CapCon 6. I think it was our best one we've ever done. The way that I would describe it is it was magic. Magic happened at this event. It was nourishing. It was fun. It was communal. It was capitalistic. And I'm dealing with the CapCon crash now. It was so much fun. It was so rejuvenating. And then everybody left and it was, oh. So let's recap what happened at CapCon. So if you were there, this can serve sort of as your field notes, your review. And if you weren't there, it will show you what you missed and give you some of the big takeaways from some of the speakers. We started the event with opening words from me about how capitalism is really the blending of community and freedom. Freedom and community go hand in hand, and we don't often think of them as that. Oftentimes we see this almost as opposed to one another because freedom often means going out on your own, carrying things on your back, blazing a new trail, and that's a lonely journey. And community is about giving to others, about being selfless. These two things don't often go hand in hand, and when either one is taken to its extreme, it causes problems. But the perfect marriage of these two is capitalism. Capitalism is where freedom, you can go out on your own in service to the community. The next person on the stage was the perfect example of that idea of community and freedom. And that person was Jimmy Darts. Jimmy Darts is a kindness influencer. He has about 10 million followers. Jimmy basically goes into Walmarts and blesses people. He looks for people who are doing acts of kindness and he gives them money and often changes their life. And I left convicted to do more good. Right after Jimmy was Cody Sanchez, and Cody Sanchez is an 8-figure entrepreneur and she comes from the private equity world. And she looks at valuations and buying businesses, and she's looking at how businesses can be positioned as an asset. And the second thing that she taught in her talk was about looking for businesses that you can attach to the business that you're building. What businesses could you bolt on or partner with or acquire that would amplify the total value of the portfolio that you're building? That was really cool to think about. She talked about several ways that she does this. She talks about horizontal and vertical integration and how she looks for and negotiates deals. This was really inspiring for me, and it made me think bigger because I do invest in businesses, I do buy businesses, but this gave me some creative ways to be able to structure it that stretched my mind a little bit. So the next person after Cody was Garen Jones. Garen was the perfect blend between Cody and Jimmy because Jimmy was 100% heart-centered. Cody was 100% head-centered. And so Garen was talking about how he works with entrepreneurs to align their core purpose and their mission so that they're attacking their goals, those head-centered goals from a heart-centered place. How do you align those two things? As entrepreneurs, we are often so disconnected between those things. You're either a starving artist, all heart, or you're, super heady without any meaning or community or connection to your customers. And both of them work, but the fulfillment comes when those two things are aligned and talking to each other. And then to end the day, we had Sean Puri. And Sean is a serial 8-figure entrepreneur. He's also the host of My First Million, which is the #1 business podcast in the world most weeks. And Sean, actually was the most surprising talk. He sets a goal and a framework for his business. Like, okay, I'm going to have 4 products that do 25 sales a day at a $30 price point that target this person. He sets the framework and sort of the thesis for how this business is going to work. And then he says, okay, how do I have as much fun as possible within this framework? And that's how he builds his businesses. He has this idea, this vision, and then he tries to find a simple, fun way to do it. And he's done it in e-commerce. He's done it with podcasts. He's done it with newsletter businesses. And one other business, I forget what the other business was, but he's had 4 successes following this framework. But he talked about how he sets these frameworks so that he can focus on one project for like 2 years. And then he flips it or sells it or exits it or automates it so he's not in it. He can move on to the next thing. And so he's a 0 to 10 guy. And he either has a portfolio of 8-figure companies, or he sells them, takes a really solid exit, and moves on. And so he's following his impulse, he's following his fun en route to the next big breakthrough, which I thought was the most beautiful application of everything we had talked about that day in one talk. The second day of the event, we started with a panel of 8-figure entrepreneurs. These were people from my network that I knew that ran 8-figure businesses. And it was 4 different industries. We had e-commerce, we had food, we had client services, and we had information products. It was really interesting to see how every 8-figure business owner had a different approach, but the mindset and the underlying principles were mostly the same. It was very humanizing to hear all of these really successful business owners talk about how from the outside, it looks like X, Y, and Z, but on the inside, it's really A, B, and C. And it was a very tactical session. We'll probably release this as an episode. I would highly encourage that you study this one because there's a lot of really deep nuggets in that panel. We then went to Tom Davin, who is the CEO of Black Rifle Coffee. And Tom Davin was sharing how they created a raving fan base in a niche like coffee. Coffee is obviously one of the most saturated markets in the world. And yet they're a $1 billion company. And he broke down each piece of the business and what needs to be in place in order to have tremendous success. The next speaker was Shaquille Prosla. And the reason why I invited Shaquille to the stage was because Shaquille privately shared with me that he had lost $6 million on a deal and was about ready to give up. But then he turned it around into a $100 million win in about 18 months. It's a crazy story. And so he went through what he did in order to turn that around. And the interesting thing was that it was mostly relationships. It was Shaquille looking for the strategic relationships and who they could serve, not just from the customer standpoint, but what vendors could they serve? What vendors could they partner with? What problems could they solve? What assets did they have within their business that they could rely on to create value for other people? And that's what Shaquille did to turn this thing from a dud into a major win. And then we ended the event with Tero Isokopoulos, and he is the founder of Four Sigmatic. Tero was voted as the most popular speaker. And that's because Tero gave this playbook that was so unique and helpful to the entrepreneurs who were in the room. And basically what Tero shared was that he takes a blue ocean approach to every business that he gets into. And what he does is he looks for 2 industries that he can combine. So he wanted to start Four Sigmatic as a mushroom company, not as a coffee company. But then he looked at coffee and said, these 2 things can be combined. And as a result of them being combined, I can have a new form of coffee that no one can compete with. It was masterfully done to hear how he goes into these industries. He looks for 2 two things that he can combine, and by doing so, he has no competition. It was really mind-opening for me to see, oh, I usually see it what everybody else is doing, and I stop there. I could see what everybody else is doing in one industry and what everybody else is doing in another industry, and I could combine them and come up with something brand new. And that is a blue ocean strategy that allows me to launch the types of products that have an impact for my audience and for my followers and customers. That was really refreshing and really cool to see. After Taro got off stage, the heavens opened and hail fell from the sky, and we were outside. So we threw everybody into a room. We brought all of the live music inside. We brought the open bar inside, and we had a ruckus, amazing, wonderful time connecting with each other and seeing how we could serve one another in this small little venue. Everybody was packed in. When it stopped, it had been like 3 hours. We had an amazing night. It was so much fun. It was my favorite part. But then when it cleared up, I stood up on a chair and was like, all right, everybody outside, we have surprises for you. And what was supposed to be a 90-minute awards ceremony, we did in 10 minutes. I just called everybody on stage. I said, the hardest part of your business is getting the first 10,000 in sales. All these entrepreneurs have done it. Give it up for these future millionaires. Everyone, yeah! And it was great. And then I called up all the people who had crossed 100K. And I was like, we're out to inspire a million millionaires, and this is the first batch. Give it up for these millionaires and world changers. And everybody went, ah! And it just was so fun for everybody to be on the same team cheering for each other's success. So often we're doing this game alone, we're playing it by ourselves, and we don't have a group of people who's rooting for us. And to have everyone on stage rooting for each other was a special moment. So that was CapCon 6. It was the best event we've ever done. Every year I say, how are we gonna top that? And we figure out a way, and we do it. And we are doing CapCon 7. We're changing up the venue, we're changing up the format, and it's gonna be really exciting. And we'll keep you posted on details about the upcoming event. I am nurturing my CapCon hangover with fun and rest and building podcast studios and pickleball and waiting for the next inspiration. I am doing this experiment right now where I prioritize fun instead of hard work. And it's hard work prioritizing fun. That muscle's weak. If you missed CapCon, you can get on the waiting list over at capitalism.com/CapCon, and you should come. It's really fun, and it's really great, and you'll meet people that'll blow your mind. Ask anybody who was there. Anybody. They'll tell you it was worth it. All right. Thanks so much. See you on the next one. Take care. See ya.